1945, she'sahomewrecker.com encourages burned wives to publicly shame the women who lured their husbands into their love den. So far, there are 500 mistresses listed on the site, including name, location, and picture. One woman wrote that her perfect marriage was ruined after her husband joined the gym and met another woman. Okay, I don't think it was the gym. I think it was the fact that your husband was fooling around that caused the problem. I'm looking up the website right now. And, okay, expose home wrecker, home wreckers, Hollywood, advertise blog, sort by. Okay, let's see how this works. I haven't tested this out in any way, so I don't know. I'm scrolling down through the states. There are 50 listed in Missouri. Whoops, and I accidentally clicked Montana by mistake. So let me change that. Nope, I didn't want Georgia. I don't want Georgia. I tell you, I hate tablet computers sometimes. They're just so touchy. Okay, so we're going to scroll down to Missouri. Okay. And, Sharon Leeper Graham of St. Louis, Belleville, Illinois. Ashley Kropp of Dexter, Missouri. Okay, see if there's anybody on here I know. I probably shouldn't be reading these names out over a public forum, but this is on a public forum. What gets me is they've got pictures of the individuals who are caught having extramarital affairs. Hubba, I'm going to Winsville. Sorry, I just saw one on here. Yowza. You know, and my thought is, if they fool around once, they're going to do it again. Just as a general rule. I'm not advocating you screw up your marriage this way, but, you know, if you're divorced, okay, you're free game. There's somebody from my old stomping grounds of Columbia, DeSoto's, Blue Springs. Wish there was an option to put more than just 5 per page. There are 50 in Missouri, so I'm seeing if there's anybody close here. She's pretty cute. Joplin, huh? Okay. Ooh, dog-face woman. Okay. Really? Don't know her. Okay. Just somewhere in Missouri, huh? Alrighty. I'll see if there are any of my ex-girlfriends on here. There are a couple that should be on here. One in particular. I won't mention names, but so far I don't see anybody I recognize. Wow. I guess these are okay. I think these are the ones that got cheated on. Is that it? Well, let's see here. What if I find somebody on here I do recognize? Then what do I say? That'd be kind of awkward running into them. Aurora, Colorado. What's that doing in the Missouri listing? Maybe they live on Missouri Street or something. Fort Leonard Wood. Should be getting close to the end because they're only 50 and 5 per page. So it'll be 10 pages of these. Most of these are around the St. Louis area. Oh, we got one local girl here. Okay. Okay. I don't recognize her, but she is local. Okay. 3 comments. Alright. And fairly recent. Well, that's interesting. Okay. My apologies. I just got curious. I hadn't checked out the website. I didn't even know that link was in there until I read the story. I just throw this stuff together and read it later on. Where were we? News headlines, right? Okay, news headlines time.
Hello, Americans. This is Paul Harvey. Stand by for news.
And take a look at news headlines for today. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie wins re-election. He won re-election yesterday to lead the state for 4 more years. Exit polls indicate that some voters who lean Democrat voted for Christie. As predicted, 94% of Republicans voted for him. This re-election has implications for a likely Christie run for GOP presidential nominee in 2016. And first Democratic mayor elected in New York City in 2 decades. Public advocate Bill de Blasio won over Republican nominee Joe LaHoyta. De Blasio was projected to win by a landslide, leading his opponent by more than 40 percentage points in polls yesterday. And finally, NFL Players Association to investigate harassment claims. The NFL Players Association announced yesterday that it would conduct a thorough investigation of the Miami Dolphins harassment case. Dolphins offensive lineman Jonathan Martin left the team last week due to that alleged harassment by teammate Richie Incognito, who has been suspended indefinitely for racially charged voicemails left from Martin. Before the voicemails were revealed, the NFL had said it would not investigate. And those are the news headlines for today.
Well, hi there, I'm Alex Wallace. It's time now for your national forecast. We'll move through the midweek, and moving through the middle of the country is storm system, and that system is going to bring us some rain from the Gulf Coast up to the Great Lakes. Not quite reaching the East Coast, like overnight into Thursday, the best chance for dealing with that. Temperatures behind the system do cool off into the upper 40s around Kansas City, while out ahead of it, we've got some 60s. West Coast, nice in San Fran and L.A. Warm there in L.A. up to 82 degrees for the afternoon with some sunshine. Heading on into Thursday now, there is a system moving to the East Coast, so there'll be some showers around. A lot of that will be during the early part of the day, not hanging around all day for you. New system in the Northwest. Showers, high terrain snow, we'll find that moving on through. A pretty raw day in Seattle for the day, for your afternoon. 60 showing up around Albuquerque. Same for you in Denver. And then by Friday, as we round things out for our week, watching our northwest system now move into the northern plains. Could see a little thin stripe of some wintry weather there in parts of North Dakota. Showers here into western Texas, and then we'll set the stage once again here on the east coast of Florida for those winds to come in onshore, help to increase those waves there along the coast. Also, high surf advisories will be in place, and the rip current risk will increase again for our Friday, and we could even see a few showers try to sneak on through as well. So sort of that pattern that we dealt with during the early part of the week moves right back to the east coast of Florida. Temperatures out there for you in Orlando, though, should be pretty nice in the mid-70s.
Good time. Anytime you need a payment. Good time. Anytime you need a friend. Good time. Anytime you're out from under. Not getting hassled, not getting hustled. Keeping your head above water. Making a way when you can. Temporary layoffs. Good time. Easy credit rip-offs. Good time. Scratching and surviving. Good time. Hanging in a job. Good time. Ain't we lucky we got 'em? Good time.
I have more of First Cup coming your way in just a few moments with things like the Composer's Date Book, Today in History, celebrity birthdays, and the Writer's Almanac with Garrison Keeler is coming up right after this.
How you doing? My name's Steve. My family's lived in this neighborhood for years. Recently, things got so tight, we had to go to our local food bank for help. I lost a lot of sleep worrying about what the neighbors might think. That is until I saw them there, too. How'd I do, Steve?
A little stiff. You could have done a little better.
What? Come on. You know, I have an Academy Award.
Yeah, but not for playing me.
It's Hunger Action Month, so click share below to pass along this video and play your role in ending hunger.
Today, about 1 in 5 Americans is living with a disability. Over 50 million people, including many of our friends and neighbors, teachers and co-workers, heroes and leaders. 20 years ago, the Americans with Disabilities Act guaranteed every person the right to live, work, and participate fully in the American experience. We've come a long way since then, and we are committed to making even more progress in the years ahead. Visit disability.gov to see how you can help.
And here is the Writer's Almanac for Wednesday, November 6th, 2013. It was on this day, 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected President of the United States, a man who'd had only 1 year of formal schooling, no administrative experience. Newspapers called him a third-rate Western lawyer. He became famous in the debates he'd had with Stephen A. Douglas in the Senate race in Illinois in 1858. He lost the election, but he became nationally prominent, and so he was put up as a presidential candidate for the election of 1860, though there were 3 other men who might have gotten the Republican nomination that year, all of whom were better educated, more experienced. But Lincoln had the upper hand because Illinois was a swing state, and it also helped that the Republican convention was held in Chicago that year. Once he got the nomination, Lincoln lay low, didn't say much until the election, hoping to let the opposition tear itself apart without stirring up too much controversy of his own, and the strategy worked. His main rival for the presidency was his former senatorial rival, Stephen A. Douglas, the Democrat. But the Southern Democrats broke away. They nominated their own candidate, John C. Breckinridge. Lincoln wound up with 40% of the popular vote, but that was enough. He won in the Electoral College. It's the birthday of John Philip Sousa, the March King, born Washington, D.C., 1854. By the time he was 13, he could play violin, piano, flute, cornet, baritone, trombone, and he was a pretty good singer. And at 26, he was leading the Marine Band and starting to write his famous marches, Semper Fidelis, and the Washington Post March, and, of course, the Stars and Stripes, Forever. Though he also wrote nearly a dozen light operas and many, many waltzes, and he wrote 3 novels. It's the birthday of Harold Ross, born Aspen, Colorado, 1892, started out as a newspaperman traveling the country, filing stories from California and New Orleans and Panama. He later said of that time of his life, "If I stayed anywhere more than 2 weeks, I thought I was in a rut." Settled in New York after serving in World War I, and it occurred to him that there was no magazine being written for the young, smart, post-war generation, and so he founded The New Yorker in February 1925. He wanted cartoons about real situations, people at bars or in offices or parties or at home with their families, and he wanted talented writers. He hired E.B. White and James Thurber, Janet Flanner, A.J. Liebling, and Joseph Mitchell. Most people he worked with said they never really knew Harold Ross. James Thurber wrote, "You caught only glimpses of Ross, even if you spent a long evening with him. He was always in mid-flight or on the edge of his chair, alighting or about to take off." Here's a poem for today by Kirsten Dierking, entitled Nuthatch. What if a sleek, gray-feathered nuthatch flew from a tree and offered to perch on your left shoulder, accompany you on all your journeys? Nowhere fancy, just the brief, everyday walks from garage to house, from house to mailbox, from the store to your car in the parking lot. The slight pressure of small claws clasping your skin, a flutter of wings every so often at the edge of vision. And what if he never asked you to be anything? Wouldn't that be so much nicer than being alone, so much easier than trying to think of something to say? Nuthatch, a poem by Kirsten Dierking from her collection Tether, published by Spout Press and used by permission here on the Writer's Almanac, supported by the Poetry Foundation, publisher of Poetry Magazine, committed to discovering great poets and printing their verse. Back issues and subscriptions available at poetryfoundation.org. Engineered by Noah Smith and produced by Joy Biles. Be well, do good work, and keep in touch.
This is the Composer's Datebook for November 6th. I'm John Zeck. The saxophone, whose shape says jazz and whose sound says romance, was the brainchild of woodwind craftsman Adolphe Sax, born on this day in 1814 in Belgium to a family of prominent instrument makers. Sax moved to Paris in his late 20s, where he turned out to be a restless and prolific inventor of new instruments. Only a few of those new instruments lived on, the saxophone, of course, the most popular. John Philip Sousa's band gave many audiences in this country their first musical taste of the saxophone, and its important role in jazz can hardly be overestimated, a development that neither Sax nor Sousa could have foreseen. In the symphonic repertory, saxophones are still just occasional visitors to the concert hall. But in the world of chamber music,